Good evening. Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Ghost Furnace. I am Bond, and I'm here as always with my cohort, Nick, Pennsylvania. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing really good. It's been a really interesting day, and I'm recovering from it, honestly, because I'll tell you what, it started this morning. This morning, um, our friend Kate,
Friend of the pod. Yep.
yeah, and friend, period, in just
Mm-hmm.
general friendship terms, she has for like the past month and a half been like, "Hey, I have something for you. Don't let me forget it." And I've
Mm-hmm.
tried not to let her forget it, but we've seen each other like four times, and she's definitely forgot it. Now,
Yeah.
the first couple times, maybe I wasn't putting forth the effort to make sure she didn't forget, but she assured me it wasn't a big thing. So today she had to come into the town where I live, and
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "Hey, me and my coworker are going to be by like around 10 this morning. We'll swing by your house. I have this thing for you." So what she had for me was a beer
Yep.
singular. I've already shown you a photo. It was Great Notion Squatch Tracks. It is a pastry stout with almonds, chocolate, marshmallow, and vanilla. And I said, well, that
Hot
sounds like a
damn.
humdinger.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So again, despite our recent encounters and newly formed friendship with the ladies from Spirits Uncorked,
Yep.
I don't drink that much. I really don't. When
Yeah.
I have a nice dinner with friends, I'll have
Right.
a beer.
Mm-hmm.
Around the house, if I have more than a beer a month, that's a pretty wild month. I'm not a big drinker.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, I like a beer, but that's about
Yeah.
it. So I got done with work early and I went and I started. There's a couple trees that need taken down. So I'm like, you know what? It's a nice day out,
Mm-hmm.
warm, sunny. I'm gonna handsaw some trees down. And I proceeded to do so. And I'm out there for an hour, hour and a half, and I'm like, you know what? I need to get out of the sun. I'm gonna take a
Mm-hmm.
break. I was gonna save this beer to share with you. But I'm like, you know what? We're adults. We can just buy
Right.
some.
We just,
I'll
yeah.
just I'll just buy Bond a
Yeah.
beer some point soon. I owe you at least three. So I'm like, I'm gonna enjoy that beer. And so I did. And I texted our friend Kate. It is 11.2% alcohol by volume, which isn't crazy,
Yeah.
but it was hitting me really hard. And I'm like,
Well,
Kate. And then I'm like putting it together. And I'm like loopy at dinner. I don't even know what I was talking about. Everybody's having a good time, I hope.
yeah.
And and then my wife and daughter go out to run some errands, and I'm sitting on the couch. I'm like, why is this hitting me so hard? Like
Yeah.
I'm a grown man.
Yeah.
Not my first rodeo.
Right, exactly.
And then I'm like, oh, you're an idiot. You're dehydrated. You
Right.
were working in the sun for a couple hours, a better part of a couple hours. And then you came in and did this.
This dark breakfast beer is basically,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
So I just started pounding water. And then I had to
uh,
call Kate for something work related. So I
right.
called Kate and she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm fine. I've drank like a gallon of water since then."
Yeah.
But she says, "Oh, so I guess you're not going to share it with Brendan." And I said, "No, it's too late for that, Kate. Thank you." And she's like, "Well,
Right.
what are you guys recording about tonight?" And I said, Brendan texted me earlier today. I said, "Listen, stop right there. I don't even want to know. This is in the height. This is in the height of my dehydration." I was like, "No, I'm going to go fly blind.
Right.
It's going to be a grand time." So I did tell Kate I would let her know when I find out. So
Here we are.
here we are. What are we talking about tonight? Because
So
you
to
brought some stories.
yeah, so the episode is not out yet, but we are going to be on as you mentioned, Nick, we are going to be on a hopefully soon to come out episode of Spirits Uncorked with our good friends Elizabeth and Erica. And we were on their show to talk about, like, life, love, happiness, the world, the universe,
Right.
everything. And I had prepared some stuff for like PA specific stuff because I wasn't sure what they were going to what they were going to want to get into. And so I was all jazzed to talk about my 1973 Uniontown, Pennsylvania farm Bigfoot UFO incident.
And as I recall, we never even talked about 1973.
No, little, yeah, right, exactly. So, and afterwards, like I was like, it was a great episode and everything, but part of me was like, I've really been wanting to talk about that incident again, and then I realized I'm like, we've never actually talked about it on this show.
Haven't we?
No, we talked about it on Christian's show for
Oh my
Hemlocks to
goodness, you're
Hellbent.
right.
We did it on Hemlocks to Hellbenders, but we never actually. We've alluded to Stan Gordon how many times,
I was gonna say because I remember something vaguely. There was a fence involved.
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah. So this is like my favorite. This is like my favorite Stan Gordon case from that flap in the '70s, and I was like, okay, well, we got this to talk about. I'm like, you know what? I want to, let me see what else I can find. And so Stan Gordon came out with a book a few years ago, his fourth book. I was like, you know what? We haven't done anything weird out of that book yet. So I went looking through it, and there were three additional. Because again, all of his stories are short. Like they're
Right.
not like. I mean, part of that is like the charm of them is like there's not a lot of frill. It's just, hey, here's what happened.
Right. I was gonna say they're fairly journalistic. It's
They are.
almost like witness statements. And I will
Hmm.
say really quick, we have referenced Stan Gordon quite a bit here, especially yourself. I have a
Hmm.
couple of his books, but you've got really into him. I've heard him on Coast to Coast growing up,
Hmm.
and I will just very briefly. Stan Gordon's a fairly prolific author.
Hmm.
Well, you always say he's the guy that said, I'm not saying aliens and Bigfoot are related, but where you see a lot of one, you see a lot of the
Hmm.
other.
Right.
And the very quick story is Stan Gordon, like ourselves, has spent most of his life in southwestern. We're middle northern western, but western Pennsylvania.
Hmm.
And his kind of origin story dovetails with the Kecksburg
Yes.
incident of the 60s. That's kind of his origin. He talks about it. People that pick up a lot of books about cryptids and
Hmm.
aliens written over the last 40 some years will have
Hmm.
undoubtedly run across a Stan Gordon book. And he makes the rounds to a bunch of the different festivals around here. But
Yeah.
so if you've heard us reference him before, or if you've never heard of him before, that's just a very brief rundown who Stan Gordon is. And with that, I'll give it back to you.
Yeah. No, that's a great intro. And we really we could do a whole series of episodes on Stan Gordon. But like I said, what I wanted to talk about tonight was first this farm UFO Bigfoot incident from Uniontown from 1973. Um, because this was one of the stories that when I first read this years and years and years ago, it was probably the first story I read that had like the Bigfoot UFO connection that like really grabbed me in a way that has like set my trajectory with these kind of subjects off on what I think has been a healthy tangent. So just to kind of dive into it, about nine, and this is in Uniontown, Pennsylvania, which is like Nick said, it's outside of Pittsburgh in
Right. Fayette
Southwest PA,
County.
Fayette County, yes. So about 9 p.m., this gentleman Stephen, who we're going to be referencing a lot tonight, and his wife are driving out to his father's family farm just to visit family. It's just I think it was a Saturday evening. Again, not about 9 o'clock. They were going down this dirt farm lane and everything, and they see this unusual object low in the sky. And how it was this large, round, red object that was at least the size of a barn and perfectly spherical, hovering about 100 feet off the ground, which is pretty crazy on its own. Stationary UFO. Um, they were really confused and scared by it, but when they got to the his father's house, a number of other family members were already out on the porch watching this UFO and just kind of looking at it. Now, off of this lane, there were a total of 15 other people that they eventually were able to talk to that also witnessed this UFO.
So was it just hovering there? And
just
if so,
hovering.
what were they saying? How long? And did it seem to have any, when we were look at a
Hmm.
plane, if it were a helicopter hovering, we could determine with some degree of accuracy due to our familiarity with helicopters what direction it was pointing, what focal point it was. Did they have any idea, or just like the classic saucer type thing?
This is said to be just white spherical, or excuse me, red spherical. So it didn't have any ports, no windows, no obvious mode of propulsion, no antennas, nothing like that.
Because
Just a
one of the things I think about is all these people sitting on the porch staring at this thing,
mhm.
and to think of it just like they're monitoring the people on the porch. So it's like a standoff.
Right, yeah. And so as they're kind of watching it and everything, like I said, there's 15 other people. And what Steve decides to do is he decides to hop in his pickup, and there's a house that's actually closer to where this object is in the sky. And he goes to drive down to their house to get kind of a different view and everything. So Steve and these two other neighbors down at this other farmhouse, once he gets there, decide to go investigate the object. Because again, it's one of those things where it's making this whirring sound and everything, and it's like they're obviously kind of freaked out by it, but they're, I guess, curious as well. And again, this is after Kecksburg and everything, so this isn't like it's completely removed from the zeitgeist. People know what UFOs are at this time. So Steve and these two neighbors had to go investigate. Um,
Oh, real
yeah.
quick, and I'm
Hmm.
sorry to
No, go
interrupt
ahead.
you,
Yeah.
but it is important to note like the distance from Kecksburg to Uniontown can be measured in the tens of miles.
Hmm.
They are one county away from each other and maybe 40 minutes drive, maybe 40
Yeah.
minutes drive. And yeah, Kecksburg in this area, because the whole thing was kind of being broadcast live on the radio. Again, Stan Gordon talks
Hmm.
about that because he remembers the event from childhood.
Hmm.
One of the interesting things is the description of that Kecksburg thing was like a acorn.
Yes. Very, yeah.
So it's interesting that this sighting, they don't describe it in similar terms.
Correct. Hmm.
That is interesting to me.
Yes. Yeah. And nor do they describe it, as you said, the stereotypical saucer that was at this point very ubiquitous in news and sci-fi and things like
Right.
that, you know. Um, but so Steve and these two young neighbor boys, Steve grabs a 30-06 and a few rounds from his father's house and heads down. Understandable. Now, he says that as he is heading down to this, and this kind of like sets the tone for me. Imagine like all these farms that have their dogs and everything, and the dogs are just going nuts. And you smell sulfur in the air, and you hear this mechanical whirring off in the distance. And again, this is like at dusk. So it's kind of a creepy setting. As they get close to the object and everything, and they get out of the truck and everything, one of the things that they say is they park their truck in a position where the vehicle could light the path, kind of going up the hill towards the woods where this object was over in like an adjacent field kind of thing. Now, whenever it had come down, because at this point it had started to lower a little bit, it turned from red to a bright white, and also changed from just being a circle to being like domed. So I kind of read that as kind of like the traditional saucer shaped, where it kind of like compressed almost in this field. Now, when they got out of the truck, they said that they could very specifically smell what smelled like burning rubber, which is like, again, anyone who knows what burning rubber smells like, it smells very particular. And they also heard what they said was sounded like crying, like a baby crying in the woods. And this is like the first, like, the whole situation's weird, obviously. This is the first, like, something's up.
Yeah, there are at least three, four weird things happening from the flying saucer,
Yes.
the whirring sounds, the crying
Hmm.
sounds, and then of course what's about to be noted.
What's
It's
about to
all
happen.
coming
Right.
back to me.
Yes. So as they're taking up this position and everything, at this point, the object is only, they said, about 250 feet away in this field. Like I said, it had turned to be like a white domed structure. At this point, they could tell the thing was about 100 feet in diameter. So pretty big. You know, that's a solid sized object right there. And they could confirm that that whirring sound that they had heard in the distance is in fact coming from this object. So like when I hear the term whirring, I think almost like a turbine or something like that. You'd assume a mechanical sound, you know.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. We've all encountered something from, even just a dishwasher
mhm,
on cycle and everything. It
right.
always suggests to me something mechanical that's spinning. A
Spinning, yeah,
dryer,
yes.
a washing machine,
Washing machine,
or
yeah.
electrical fan, AC unit, whatever.
Hmm.
We've all heard it.
Yes. So, now as they're kind of sizing up what to do with this UFO, they hear more of this crying, and to their right, down this fence line, they see what appear to be coming from the woods, but at this point they're out of the woods, two creatures. Now these creatures are very tall, covered head to toe with what they called brownish gray hair. The first one was estimated to stand just over 8 feet tall. Both of them had no apparent neck, but they were humanoid. The arms hung almost down to the bottoms of their feet, which is terrifying sounding. They had bright green glowing eyes, which they said were the size of 50-cent pieces. The second one was said to be about 6 feet tall. So, like, imagine all this is happening. This is a pretty, like, scary scenario. Like, you imagine seeing something like this, and it's a
Yeah.
lot.
Well,
Um,
just the proportion of the limbs and everything
yeah,
make me think about the whole Slender Man thing, which
it does,
just
right?
as a concept, just as a
Yeah,
body dimension concept is unsettling.
yes.
Like,
And
you ever think Abraham Lincoln was like disturbing looking?
I mean,
I
well,
have.
didn't he have something? Like
He
he
did. He had
had,
the same thing that Joey Ramone had.
oh, that's what it was.
That was
Okay.
made him like really tall and kind of like
Yeah,
gaunt and
kind of
everything.
gangly. Yeah.
Like almost skeletal like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it can be, especially in those like old Daguerreau and tintype photos. It's just
yeah,
unsettling looking.
it is. Yeah. Um, but so, yeah, imagine Abraham Lincoln and Joey Ramone coming out of the woods at you when all
That
this is happening.
I can think of at least
Um,
four reasons why that's an upsetting image.
yeah, exactly. Like this isn't any better.
Right? No, I mean, one, both of them are dead, and the
Yeah.
timelines are distinct. Like,
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
overlap.
Something's going on. But so now in the book, this is in his second book. I think it's Mysterious. No, this is in Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion. Or Silent Invasion. Secret Invasion is Marvel. This is Silent Invasion by Stan Corton. He spends a long period, like there's like three or four large paragraphs explaining how these things move. Um, Now, how they move is imagine like, fence posts that are around like a cow field and everything. The fence posts stand about 6 feet tall, and how they're moving is the first one will move to a fence post, wail, like do this like bellowing, crying sound. And then the other one, which stays an equidistant behind, moves from a fence post to another fence post. So, like, how I kind of read that is almost imagine when you see like Navy SEALs or like SWAT team members that are moving like very like strategically through something. Um, that's kind of how I like envision it.
Yeah, like boom, boom, station to station kind of.
Yes, yeah, it's very purposeful, and there's like a system happening, almost like they're certainly communicating to each other.
Yeah, or
Um,
if you imagine like we see TV commercials here in America where like army or on a police procedural show where
yeah,
police are like searching a house sort of thing.
yes,
Like they go in by numbers, it's
it's very
strategic.
methodical and everything, and there's
Exactly.
yeah, it's very like these are professionals doing a thing. Um, So at this point, once these creatures start moving, the 10-year-old of the two neighbor boys just takes off. Understandable, smart young man. Steve loads his 30-06 and tells the other boy to get back in the truck. He fires one round over these creatures with no response. The second creature starts making a whining sound after he shoots another round over the creatures. Now, with the third round, here's the weird thing that happens. So he says that the rounds that he's using are what are called tracer rounds. And basically, what they are is they're it's some sort of like phosphorus where it's still a bullet, but it glows white hot when it's in the air, and you can see like the trajectory of the round as it's fired and everything. So he says that as he shoots the I think it's the third tracer, the one in the back reaches towards like the round almost like it's trying to grab it as it's coming through the air and everything, which is strange. And at as that happens, large white flash, everything goes white, and the UFO vanishes, just gone. Steve is very clear that it did not accelerate anywhere, did not land, did not go up. It was just gone. No more sound, nothing. All it left was a glow in the area where it had been located, like in this cow pasture. And at this point, the two creatures start wailing again and turn around and start walking back to the wood line in the same manner that they came out.
Now, does it describe the wail that they make as being again like the young child crying
They say
noise?
like a baby crying.
So
Yeah.
they say that's clearly the same thing. It wasn't another.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. No,
Okay.
they do correlate those two things for sure. At this point, as they're leaving, Steve, understandably freaked out, starts shooting at these things. He says he puts 3 rounds into the larger one, which at this point would have been closer.
But
Um,
again, not the smartest thing to do when it's walking
no,
off and you don't like again, this is something that was reaching for a round.
right.
Not a
Yeah,
good
it's
thing.
yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, like whenever you hear about people shooting at things in stories like this, it's always important to say identify your target. Like that's the first thing they teach you in hunting safety class.
Uh-huh.
Like you shouldn't do that. That being said, if I was in Steve's situation, you can
For your safe cover,
understand.
sure,
Yeah,
sure.
you can understand why someone would be like, "Hey, this is because he might have still been afraid for his life, kind of thing."
Well, and even if you can't understand it, like if you take this story at face value and go
Yeah,
like, Steve just saw a couple really weird things. He has
right,
no idea what's going on.
right.
I've never been in that
Same
situation.
here. Yeah,
I've never been in a comparable situation.
situation.
Don't
Right.
know how I'd act, especially if I already had a gun in my hand.
Precisely. Yeah. So try not to be judgmental towards Steve. But so that's what he says happens. At this point, he heads back to the pickup, which has the other neighbor child in it, and they head back to the Palmer farmhouse. They mention that they hear the shots and everything. They come flying back. At this point, they've already called the Pennsylvania State Police. And a few minutes later, the first officer shows up about 9:45. So Steve and the officer hop in the patrol car and head back to the field where these events had, taken place. And again, like it seems like this officer, because there's a few dialogues between Stan and the officer and everything. The guy seems to take the situation seriously. He's not showing up being like, "Hey, what are all these rowdy farmers in the middle of the woods, getting up to on a Saturday night?" So they get back to the field, and in the the notes for the case and everything, this luminous ring is still visible. It was about 150 feet in diameter. There were cows in the field, but they wouldn't go anywhere towards it. And the description that the police officer puts in his report is you could read a newspaper by the glow given off by this field.
You know, I'm reminded I had heard that description once before. Well, probably more than once
Hmm.
before, but from the same source. There
Hmm.
was an episode of In Search of I remember watching or
Hmm.
seeing over and over as a kid, where that was the description that you could read a newspaper
Yeah.
by the light of the object. I wonder if it wasn't this incident, and I need to go
Hmm.
back and watch In
It
Search
may
of
be.
because a lot of memories there.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's funny. You hear like the two things that almost seem tropish in this is that, and also describing the eyes being as big as silver dollars. I don't know if that's
Not
just like a
even in 73 wasn't a common unit of currency in the
right. So that's
United
why I wonder if that's
States.
just like a parlance of just like how people talk about. I mean, but yeah. So at this point, like I said, they're checking out the glow and everything. So Steve wasn't looking great at this point. Like the dude was obviously like going through it kind of thing. And the officer was worried that there could have been like radiation or something like that at this point. So he wanted to get Steve back to the barracks for like to get, checked out medically and everything and start writing a report up and everything. At this point, they hear crashing in the nearby woods. They get freaked out. The officer goes and grabs his flashlight, brings it back. And at this point, the larger of the two creatures that Steve saw earlier is coming out of the woods at Steve and the patrol officer. Understandably freaked out, Steve still has his rifle. He fires point blank at the creature. The officer fires at the creature. The thing momentarily rocks back and forth, but continues to charge at them. So they turn tail and head out, which you can understand. So this thing apparently
Probably the
rushes them.
smartest thing they did at that
Yeah,
moment,
yeah,
honestly.
exactly. Like, because again, like, if you shoot something and you know you hit it and it just sways and keeps coming, like, what are you gonna do? Like, welp,
But and
on
also
like
something that makes it sound like a crying baby is like I'd have a hard time shooting at
everything.
that.
I know. It's just like I just
That's
think,
honestly, I've just been thinking about that.
yeah, 1973 is just a different time, I guess. Just it's coming right
Well,
for us,
cocaine use was a lot more rampant, I
It
hear,
was, yeah, it
before
was
my
just
time.
right. It's just, yeah.
Mm.
Um, um,
Dukes of Hazzard was a
right.
possibility. Well, that might have been later, but whatever.
So at this point, they get back to the barracks and everything, and the officer did a really smart thing, which was immediately sent Steve to one room, and he went with his lieutenant into another room, and both took down reports.
Right.
Which again,
Which is
we
just smart. I think that should and maybe is standard operating
yeah,
procedure when they do it.
I'm sure it is, but it's like again, someone's going through like a real weird situation.
Yeah.
Like
This is so
I'm
fantastical.
yeah, I'm just impressed when people do the smart thing in situations like this,
100%.
because like I wouldn't. So, or I probably wouldn't. But so at this point, as they're getting the statements and everything ready, one of the other Pennsylvania State Police officers calls our homeboy Stan Gordon because they're like something's going on out there. We need to
Right.
call
We need an
Stan.
expert.
We need an expert. And that's the thing is, and at this point, Stan has a reputation in the area for like if weird stuff is happening, you call him. Like he's just
Well, and
because
he's got to be only like what, like 24 at the time at that?
but again, he works for General Electric and like the people he has on his team are like Army radio operators, cryptographers, like engineers. Like it's not like his group is a bunch of just like yokels. And I think because of the way they conduct themselves, I can't remember the name of the group. It's a really bad acronym. It's like 7 letters that do not flow at all. Um, but it's really bad. I can't like it's you think I'm joking, it's bad. I'll find it. It's bad. But they have a great reputation and I think that shows by how often different police departments and hospitals and government agencies like work with them. So they meet they meet up with the with the state troopers and everything. Or excuse me, they meet up with Steve. The state troopers are still at the barracks, but they let Steve go, and Steve meets with them and takes them to meet up at the farmhouse and everything.
By the
Um,
way, I just crunched some numbers real quick.
mhm.
Stan Gordon was born in 49. So yeah, he would have been
Okay,
23 or 24.
man, what a life! Can you imagine rolling around
Seriously.
Fayette County looking for UFOs at 24 years old? Jeez.
I mean, I've driven around Fayette County at the age of 24, and
That's
yes, I
true. Yeah, I
can
guess we have.
actually.
And it was
It
pretty
is a pretty
cool,
sweet
right?
gig.
Yeah, it was
Right.
pretty. Yeah, it was a pretty.
Honestly,
Yeah.
you could do worse.
See,
I've
exactly.
done
Yeah,
worse.
I've done. I was gonna say, yeah, we have done worse,
Yeah,
but
I mean, I've looked for a Waffle House in Central Ohio at 4 in the morning
do you
at
remember
the
when
age of
we? Oh,
22, and
God,
it was
I
that was
was.
decidedly worse.
I
I
was
love
just.
Waffle House
I
though.
was just thinking about something recently. Do you remember when we tried to find that Jehovah's Witness location
Oh
that like
my gosh,
disappeared?
yes.
So there's one
Yes.
up. There's one up here that I've driven past 100 times and didn't realize that's what it was. And part of
I
me was
can
like, did that just show up here? Like the other
You
one
know what? That
disappeared?
is kind of creepy, but I
Yeah,
can always spot them. And this sounds
yeah.
prejudicial, but it's not. I just don't agree with their kind of Calvinistic
Hmm.
beliefs of like there's a set number of people that are already
Hmm.
chosen. So like, what good are your acts? But that's
Right.
a theological conversation we're not having. I can only spot a Jehovah's Witness center by the complete and utter lack of windows.
Hmm.
What's the deal with that?
Right. Yeah. They don't like, yeah,
I mean, for a place
it's
that has the
maybe
lighthouse as the
as their,
magazine,
yeah. We'll have to,
you'd think they'd have more windows to shine that light.
I know some people that used to be part of that community. I'll have to ask. I bet there's a reason.
There must be a
I
reason
bet there's a
because
reason.
the only windows I ever see are on the doors.
Right. Which seems like a
I
fire
am
hazard. I don't
curious.
know. But
We'll
anywho,
call Stan Gordon.
call Stan Gordon. Stan Gordon probably knows. But anyway, so Stan meets Steve in the Westmoreland Mall parking lot at 12:45 in the morning. Steve's father, Mr. Palmer, is also with him because he came to get Steve from the barracks. But again, I'm distilling like a large chapter at this point still, so um, it flows better in the book. But so Stan, George Lutz, who is one of Stan's like right hand men, and one other gentleman. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but Dennis Smeltzer was the other team member. So they all head back out to the farm. They get to the location. The glowing ring was no longer present, so Stan and his team didn't get to see that. But again, it's in the report for the police officers. The first thing they did was scan for radiation using a Geiger counter, and there was no unusual radiation levels. But the cows still did keep their distance from the area that was previously lit up, but they couldn't. They're looking around trying to find like physical evidence. So at this point, Stan and George Lutz are running their tape recorders and trying to just kind of gather evidence. And they hear yelling back towards the farmhouse. So they hop in the car and go back and everything. And the family that was still at the farmhouse says that there was a bright light that like basically lit up the whole area near the house for like a few seconds. Like they thought there was like a helicopter or something with like a spotlight. And it's just like a weird occurrence for like, again, 2 o'clock in the morning at this point.
Well, and again, perhaps they presumed it was a government thing because, of course,
Right.
all the stories of Kecksburg are how
Hmm.
quickly government troops came
Showed
in. And of
up.
course,
Right.
all that has been completely declassified. It was a legitimate thing, but it wasn't
Hmm.
alien in any way. It was definitely
Right.
Cold War stuff, but there was a
Hmm.
government response. And so, yeah.
Understandable. Yeah. So like if that's what it was, who knows? Yeah. But so they head back out to the field and they notice there's this bull in the field, and anyone who's dealt with bulls in fields knows that like you got to keep an eye on them. I got some stories about that, but it's concerned with again this wooded area. At this point, Steve's dog, who was with them, again got really freaked out by the wooded area. So Stan Gordon and his team, being braver than I, decide to start heading towards the wooded area. And they also notice this heavy sulfur smell that kind of comes out of nowhere. At this point, Steve starts to they describe it in a few different ways, like his mannerisms get a little bit kind of jerky. He seems to be not quite responsive. It's almost like he's going into like either a trance or like a fugue state kind of thing. Like he just like isn't responding properly. He seems like he's just like not there. Looks like he's gonna faint. And at this point, both Stan and, or excuse me, George Lutz and Mr. Palmer, the father, are like standing near Steve, trying to hold him up and everything. And Steve apparently just starts to kind of like really lose it. He starts acting animalistic. He starts like growling and just like wailing. And at this point, he threw his father and George Lutz to the ground, and the dog runs away. And all this they have audio from, and Stan says the audio was very disturbing to listen to because it doesn't sound natural is kind of how he describes it. So as Steve is going through like whatever he's going through, Dennis Smeltzer, the other guy, says that he starts to feel really off and that he's gonna faint. As they're doing this, Steve does actually pass out. So just imagine a bunch of grown adults just like really having a rough time near these woods, which is just odd. At this point, they do like revive Steve and everything, and he starts kind of like talking really incoherently, saying about how he was shown something in the woods that's trying to warn them about the field. Um, at this point, they're like, you know what, this is enough. We're getting back to the vehicle. We're getting out of here.
Been a long night.
Been a lot
everybody.
for everybody. Like time to go to the Waffle House and just like put an end to all this.
Smothered covered cap, thank you.
Yeah. So they get back to the house and everything. After this, Steve says that he does not remember anything after getting out to the field that night with Stan and them. So he remembered the previous interactions, but not the him kind of like again like losing it. But he does say he remembers seeing visions of what looked like a man-like creature in a black cloak and a black hat carrying a sickle and conveying to him about the evils of mankind and how if we didn't change our actions, the world would end. Um, Steve had never been a religious person, wasn't before or after. So these kind of like religious apocalyptic kind of things seemed very out of character for
Well,
him, according to his
but it
family.
does seem totally in character of the time. And
It
again,
does. Yeah.
1973, this is Cold War bonanza.
Yeah. Right.
I think in a lot of the vestiges of the atomic bombs and everything are very fresh
Hmm.
in a lot of people's minds. So I think that we see the 1970s as being a real big rise in different
Hmm.
cults and whatnot. And a lot of them are eschatological doomsday cults.
Right.
And so I think that sort of imagery
Hmm.
isn't uncommon.
Right.
I don't know what to say beyond that.
So one of the kind of like famous things about this is one of the things that wasn't in John Keel's book about the Mothman prophecies. I know he references it, but it features as a plot point in the movie which takes place in 1967. One of the things that Steve experiences is he had premonitory dreams about two plane crashes that ended up being real things, which really messed him up. He had run-ins with ghosts. He had run-ins with Men in Black after this, and this is all before Mothman and Point Pleasant. So like some of those, like the Gray Barker tropes with Men in Black, didn't exist before this. And the premonitory stuff with crashes, I'm sure did happen, but like as far as in the world of high strangeness, like Steve is where those tropes kind of originate from. Because again, he for all intents and purposes, not the kind of person who was into these things before or after, except for the weird things that was happening. The one really unique thing that he apparently had a gift with after the fact is he knew what birds were going to do. Like,
I feel like now I don't want to tell, I
mm-hmm,
don't want to like sound like extra
yeah,
skeptical or
mm-hmm,
cynical, but if you point to me a bird in the wild, I think I can pretty accurately, within 5 guesses, tell you what it's going to do in the next minute.
right,
You know, either
yeah,
do that dirt bath thing, fly away, stare at me suspiciously, tweet or some sort of song
yeah,
or nothing.
mm-hmm,
You know, that's pretty much what birds do. Like
yeah.
they're kind of limited.
Yeah, no, but this has to do with like apparently them like flying over and like landing on him and stuff and like a bunch of other weird stuff with birds. Um so yeah, it's that one's a little bit of a stretch, but I thought it was interesting because I like birds and I don't think I've heard of that one with any
I
other
feel
like
like
UFO experiencers.
I
So,
feel like this is the old claim of like I can put bricks to sleep using hypnosis.
right. So so yeah, so that's I mean that's the long and short of that encounter, but like that's my like I said, that's my favorite Stan Gordon story.
No, I
Um,
have memory of this one. As soon
yeah.
as you started getting into it, like I said about the fences,
Hmm. Right.
it all started coming back to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably my favorite one because it's again, we all know correlation does not imply causation, but it's a real weird story that has everything from UFOs to what are called Bigfoot, but really don't quite sound like Bigfoot either.
Well, and
To
there's so much detail
right.
from and evidence like police reports that you can
You can go
conceivably
look at it.
look
Yeah.
up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's the thing is like this like and this is one of those and this is again why I like Stan Gordon's stuff so much because like especially stuff that he gets to investigate, not just collect. Um like stories like this stuff happened as
Something
far as
happened.
something happened. Yeah, like was it precisely what people say? like maybe not, but like a thing definitely happened that affected these people, and
Right.
like
And it
some,
was weird, no
and it was
matter
definitely
like,
whatever
yeah,
it was weird, and that's why I think I like stories like this too, because like even if you go with like the mundane explanations, like it's still so fantastical that it's like
agreed.
what could possibly account for this, you know? Um,
Yeah,
because you can come up with stuff, you know,
sure enough.
it's just real out there. So,
Some
um,
weird party with an electric pinata.
right.
The
Well,
60s
yeah,
weren't that, far removed.
right, exactly.
But no, there's like it's hard to go through and say what's the most likely, what's the most plausible,
Right.
some sort of elaborate prank. It absolutely is, but to what end? And again,
Right.
you
Because
got
it's like,
shot at.
yeah, because that's the thing is like you can pull one over on you know a dozen and a half farmers, but like, do you really want to do that with a police officer and then get it on the
Right,
record? And then like, there's so many
things have
people,
gotten elevated.
yeah, there's so many people corroborating it that like if it was just bunk, it would have, I don't know. So
You
that's what
you'd hope it was, but
you'd
like
hope,
we
yeah,
know crop circles are man-made, and yet
right.
it took a long time for people
Well,
to throw the
it's
code
funny.
back.
I do want to revisit that at some point because there's a lot of stories about people who do the crop circles running into weird stuff out there. Um, like there are stories about that, which
Well,
like
write that
I'm
down. Let's
fascinated.
put a
Yeah,
pin in that
yeah.
one.
I'm because I'm it's a fascinating concept. But so yeah, so that spurred me looking back at that story. Was I was like, you know what? Let's look at a few of the stories from the new book. So the new book covers, and like I say new, it's 4 years old at this point. Creepy cryptids and strange UFO encounters in Pennsylvania, Bigfoot, Thunderbirds, mysteries of the Chestnut Ridge, and more. Casebook number 4. The Thunderbird section is fantastic. I can't wait to do a deep dive on that one. You guys know how much I love Thunderbirds, and
Yeah, we'll have to
we'll
have
have to
our
get
friend
Brian.
Brian.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. Yep, that was my thought as well. But so what it is, I went through and I pulled a few stories that were just like weird because I'm like, okay, let's see if we can escalate the weirdness from this last story that we just talked about with this farm to, you know, some other just like weird stuff where it's just like, if people are telling the truth, what in the world could this have been? And I think I have a pretty good smattering of these three stories. And these are much shorter than the previous one. Like I said, the last one was like a whole chapter of one of the books. Okay, so September 20th, 2015. So this is on a rural road in eastern Butler County. Um, so
Hey, I know that place.
yeah, so a place that we're at sometimes. So the witness says it was a sunny day and they were taking a leisurely drive through the scenic area. Totally understandable. It's a beautiful area.
Wait,
The,
through what area?
it's through a scenic area.
Oh,
Yeah, I
well, it
just
sounds scenic.
yeah, exactly. So it's nice to look at. So this person's driving and everything, and they have a passenger. Driver's keeping focus on the road ahead, and about 15 to 20 feet away, and about three-fourths of the way across the road, the witnesses start to see something that's hard to describe moving from right to left ahead of the car. The driver first thought it was a deer. It looked similar to the head of a deer, however, the head was angled straight up. It wasn't like angled downwards. The head was really pointy, narrowed at the top, and rounded off. The body was a similar color to a deer, but appeared to be very thin and stood between 4 to 4.5 feet tall. The body appeared to be smooth, as if it was just skin and not hair. This was only observed from the side and it never turned towards the car or like addressed the car. No detail could be seen of the face. The arms, however, were very short and out of proportion. I almost kind of read it as like T-Rex arms. Uh,
Sure.
the rest of the body, or excuse me, the arms look like they're almost holding something close to the body and chest area. So imagine something with small arms holding something. And there appeared to be something on its legs. It wasn't the driver wasn't sure if it was fabric or if it was like hair, but it appeared to be something that was like hanging off of the body and everything, covering the leg area. Could not see the feet specifically. So the driver states this thing just kind of like appears on the roadway as it's gliding, and that the effect that the thing had was the witness almost describes it as like a time lapse type thing where like when you think of like a cartoon character as they said like moving too fast in Looney Tunes where it almost is like the body can't keep up with how fast it's moving. It looked like there was some sort of like distortion happening. And with how it was gliding, it gave the impression that it wasn't actually like walking, but like flying in some way. So at this point, because again, it wasn't that far away from the car reaches the location on the road where it was gliding, but neither the driver nor passenger could see anything where it went into the woods. There was a creek on the right side, and there was just woods on the left side. I said the observation lasted a total between 8 and 10 seconds. Um, and again, they said it was strange because on the right side there was a creek, so they were confused of why they didn't see it come out of the creek off the right side of the road. It just kind of appeared as it was moving across the road, kind of. Um, so that's a weird story. This is one of those ones where, again, if we're taking it at face value, these people, are on the up and up. Like, what could they possibly be seeing there?
Well, I could say so it's coming across the street, across the
Hmm.
road.
Yeah.
I've seen the prank where people pull like a dummy
Hmm.
across on like string, like kids will do
Right.
that. So that would make sense. Someone takes a mounted deer head and like a
Hmm.
scarecrow sort of thing, which would
That's
explain
kind of
why
what
the head was pointing straight up.
right. That's
Be
kind of what I was
easier to
thinking. Like, it has to be,
spooky.
oh, definitely spooky, but it has to be like, if it is a mundane explanation, it has to be like a prank because
Yeah.
it's too weird for it to be like, not saying the other can't be weird, but like, there's nothing to compare it to. So like it has to be a mix of like a prank mixed with them not seeing it the whole way, you know?
And pranks are real things. They happen.
Oh,
I
totally.
could totally see that happening.
Yeah. Again,
It's a
on
lot
a
easier to explain and come to terms with in the first story, which is just, yeah, maybe, but even just where I'm at right now, even plausible there's not plausible. Like, it's just the whole thing's bizarre.
yeah, it's just
That's the
very, very
problem.
bizarre. Yeah. So I thought that was
Yeah,
a fun one because I read that and I was like, I have no, speaking the same thing, I have no idea what that was. Now,
right.
here's one on the other side of the spectrum that I think you'll like because it's a subject that we deal with a lot. Well, not a lot, but we've dealt with a number of times. So this is July 8th in 2017. This is a couple who lived near apparently there's somewhere called the Albany Forest in north central Pennsylvania. Are you familiar with the Albany Forest?
I am not.
Yeah, neither am I. So I'm not sure where. I got the impression it was near like somewhere near the border. I don't know if it's near like Bradford or where, but so this is about 9 a.m. on this day where this couple lives in a country home out there, and the woman sees on her back porch what she sees is kind of like an oversized moth that's on one of these 6 by 6 vertical posts. So she goes outside to look at it, and she says that the moth was about 11 inches long and about 5.5 inches wide at the shoulders. The overall shape was of like an hourglass shape, like not like a long, thin shape, but like an hourglass. It had two large antennae, about 2 inches in length. Um, the head appeared to be tucked inside the body and everything. The observer estimated the wingspan whenever it would have, like, if it would have opened up the whole way. She says it would have been about 15 inches in from tip to tip. So the wife calls her husband out because she's like, come look at this moth. And they both agree that it's this pale green iridescent color with a cream colored body.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen models like that.
yeah, it's all like I almost like color wise, almost like a Luna moth. Um,
Yeah.
and
By the way, just off record, like I love models. I remember
oh, they're sweet.
when we were kids sneaking out the wee hours of the morning and going and walking around the
Hmm.
elementary school around the corner from where I grew up because moths would congregate there, and it was just really something cool to look at them.
Right. Yeah, it's yeah, they're cool creatures for a lot of reasons. And so yeah, if I see one on the porch, I'm calling who I live with to come outside and check it out too. So staying looking at it and everything, they're just like, man, this is a huge moth. And so they go inside to get their camera. They bring the camera outside, and the camera will not turn on. She goes inside, takes the batteries out, puts new batteries in, right out of the box, comes outside, the camera will not turn on. So they have to go somewhere about 10 o'clock in the morning. So at this point, they have to actually get moving and everything. When they go outside to get in their car, they see a similar moth on top of the garage, like above their garage door. And when they return about 2 hours later, both moths are no longer there. Um, in the book they provide like a sketch and everything, and it is a different shape. It is like an hourglass shape. It's not like you think when like if you think of a Luna moth where it's like almost like a V with a long tail kind of thing.
Right. It's
Um,
almost like the antennae coming out the back.
right, yeah. This looks different than that. So now like we keep mentioning Luna moths. We do have some other like big moths in Pennsylvania.
I'm
Like
trying to think of like, is it the hawk moth?
we
There's
have
the
we have a lot of hawk
honeybee.
moths. Yeah, yeah, like the
You
bird
only
moths
seem to
too.
see them, right? You only seem to
Yeah,
see them when they're dying. I don't know what it is, but
right.
yeah.
Well, because it's the end of their life cycle. Because there's big moths, like we have Cecropia moths around here, which are like big, meaty, hairy moths, and like that's
You
the only way I can
say
describe
meaty
them.
like you're about to grill it.
Yeah, like it's
You know,
like
like the portobello is like a meaty sort of
well,
mushroom, and like if we're talking moths, like
yeah, like
fire up the charcoal.
they're well again, so, like Cecropia moths are big enough that like if you get freaked out by big insects, these things would be a problem. Like
100% agree.
yeah, like I could see someone having a real problem with them because they're like big enough that you're like like I don't want to tango with that thing. It's like me with spiders that are bigger than a quarter.
In fact,
Um,
the Cecropia moth is the largest native moth species to all of North America.
is it? See, I didn't realize
Up
that.
to
Okay.
up to 7 inches, so more than half a foot.
Oh, do they get that big? See, I see again. I've only seen one in the wild, and it was maybe 4 inches, which again is still a big moth, but like,
Oh,
um,
absolutely.
but yeah, 7 inches. But 7 inches is not 15. You know. Oh yeah. Yep. Exactly. Jesus, look at that
It's
thing.
like a
Yeah,
bee. I mean, no, it's like a bird.
it's like a bird. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
yeah. um,
like
but so
a
yeah,
bee.
they do get big.
Oh, there's
Um,
a Luna moth, by the way.
yeah, those are so pretty. Yeah,
They sure are.
they're
But
really
there's
really
there's
pretty.
those like
This,
a
see, like the
big thing
Cecropia that
like
I've seen before was about that size. Like again, like maybe like 3 4 inches. Like not,
again, big moths.
yeah, big moths. It's still super pretty. But so this is one of those stories where it's like it's just an unusually sized insect, which we've dealt with many times on this show before. But also there's a weird paranormal element with the camera not working because they say that whenever they try the camera the following day, it works just fine. Not saying this was a paranormal moth or anything, but it is weird. And again, if it was that big, it would be, anomalous, and the fact that there were two of them, because like that happens like at my house last year, I had Sphinx moths all come out at the same time, and I saw like four or five in like a 2 day period. So like seeing two, even if they are like abnormally large moths at the same time, makes you feel like it's like a life cycle of a natural creature, not something that's like necessarily paranormal. So I thought that one was fun because we know we like big insects.
Yeah, and now we know I like moths. I mean, I always have, and I always knew it, but
Right.
yeah. Have you ever met anybody that's like irrationally afraid of moths? Because I know someone.
Oh, really? See, I don't think I know. I don't think I know anyone, but I wouldn't be shocked if someone's like, "The hell with
You know
those
why?
things." Why?
He wishes he had the gift of knowing what birds are going to do because
Hmm.
he says that the reason why he's so uncomfortable around moths is
Hmm.
because he doesn't trust their flight path.
That's true. They
He's
are they
afraid of them
are
flying in
erratic.
his ear
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah. Oh, that's no. I mean, that is not the craziest thing we've heard tonight.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a fact, simple
Yeah.
fact, actually.
But yeah, I can understand that. So here's our last story. This again, I just took a smattering of like three of the weirdest things I could find in the book real quick. So this one takes place in Westmoreland County around 8 p.m. in September of 2017. Witness observed an object in the sky that looked like a disc that was rotating with various colors going between red and green and blue and white. So
And
very like,
pause real quick. I
mhm.
want to reiterate.
Yeah,
So we started in Fayette County.
yep,
If you go immediately north, you're in Westmoreland County.
hmm,
If you go north northwest of Westmoreland County, you're in Butler County,
right, exactly. So,
specifically eastern Butler County.
yep,
And now we've gone south southwest. these three counties share borders
Right, exactly. This is all a
with,
similar
well,
area.
Westmoreland shares borders with both of them.
Yes, that
So
is
yeah,
very
very
true.
tight area. And I know
Hmm.
that's one of the things you love when we talked with Susan Fair the
Yes,
other week. You mentioned that, and I
I
know
love it.
with Timothy Renner,
Hmm.
we spoke about the Owlbat Witch,
Hmm.
and again, just there's lore to a very tight region. In this
I
case,
yeah.
three county span,
Yeah, exactly. It's a small area when all things considered.
the Tri
Um,
County Terror.
Tri-County Terry. So we have this witness that sees this kind of rotating disc that's multicolored, kind of bobbing around outside of this wood line. And one of the things that she notes that is a really weird thing to bring up is she says there appears to be some sort of appendage or rope hanging down that looks like it's made of neon lights from the thing, which like is a very odd detail, especially since it doesn't really play into anything else in the story. But so as she is outside looking at this object, the witness hears a strange sound from the woods. She says it sounds almost like an angry owl, which, if you just Google angry owl sounds, enjoy. Just imagine that. So at this point, the UFO was still in the sky, and the witness noticed that they're about 40 yards away from her. There was what appeared to be a humanoid that came out of the woods. Now she says humanoid. This thing stands about 5 foot 8 inches tall, has this large egg-shaped head, so it's narrow at the bottom, larger at the top, with ivory kind of cream-colored skin. No facial features, so no eyes, no ears, no mouth. The body appeared to be very thin, hairless, has no arms or hands, but looks like it is wearing overalls.
Now, how to get those overalls on?
Right. That's just the logistics of this one are kind of
Does
rough.
it have no arms? You
No
said.
arms. It's just she says she could not.
How does it even hold the overalls on?
Hmm. Like what are they? Yeah. What if
Does
it
it have
what if
shoulders? Like
yeah?
really like
What if it leans? You know.
high perch shoulders?
But again, that's what she says it looks like. So, and she says the one leg seems like she's like wasn't sure if it was injured because it's almost like dragging one of the legs, which is just like creepy. I almost imagine like zombie kind of,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I just don't like. The creature seems to notice her, but as some other neighbors show up, it kind of retreats back into the wood line as they're all sitting there looking at this UFO that's still up in the woods, still up above the woods and everything. The one set of neighbors decides to go back into their house. This witness stays out there, and this thing now comes out of the woods closer to her, about 20 to 30 feet away. She says it seemed shaky, like it was off balance, like it was going to fall over. So she runs back into the house, locks up, turns the lights off, grabs her firearm, and just waits. And apparently, the UFO hovered above the trees for at a rate of maybe about 100 feet for about another hour, and then slowly moved off to the northeast. And she never saw the creature after that. So a really, really strange story where it's just like, what in the world did this poor woman see?
Got nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it's like some of these one-offs are like, I don't know, they're just very, very, very strange. And I'm not jealous of these people. There are some paranormal accounts I hear and I'm like, you know what? I kind of like to see that. Like I'd love to see a big moth. Put a big moth outside. I'm going. It's gonna be great.
Right. Wouldn't think there
Um,
was anything paranormal about it,
no,
but
but you, a 6 foot tall egg-shaped thing wearing overalls with no arms and a bum
no,
leg
like
coming out of the woods. Like,
you
no,
know
thank
how I
you.
feel about hard-boiled eggs, and
Hmm.
also how I feel about overalls. And there's not,
Right.
I don't know.
Dude, yeah, I don't know. It's
Talk to me.
just, I've been,
Have you been thinking about donning overalls?
so I've been wrong about so many things in my life. And I know we've
Uh-huh.
talked about a few of them on the show. And like, I'm starting to wonder if my moratorium on overalls is also a problem.
See,
Like,
I'm more of a
like,
coverall man myself. I think I would look, like you have seen me in a baseball cap
hmm
once.
Yeah.
And I actually shared that photo recently with
Hmm.
a friend because I caught that brook trout.
Right.
It was a cool
Well, when you're
time.
fishing, it's almost like safety. But yeah,
Right, right.
and I know
I
what you mean.
agree.
Yeah.
I was wearing that Quebec Nordiques hat.
Right. It's a good
I was
hat.
very proud of it. I still look like a lost 6-year-old. Now, I want you to
Yeah.
imagine me in a baseball cap and overalls, and I would.
Yeah.
It's almost as
People,
disturbing as something that has an egg for a head.
yeah. People are just asking if you're okay. Um,
Right. Or yeah,
yeah.
it's not a good, I can't pull it off. Now I think I could rock some coveralls, like the
Coveralls, yeah.
hickory stripe coveralls. Red Cap makes a pair. I've been
Hmm.
eyeballing them.
Now, would you do coveralls with a belt?
No, no,
No,
no,
okay.
no, no.
Just check it. I'm just,
Old
yeah,
time mechanic,
yeah,
like
yeah.
there's a French musical. It's actually
Hmm.
really an opera because it's sung throughout. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, or I think Papager de Cherbourg, and like it opens up in
Hmm.
an auto garage in like right before the Algerian War, and dudes are wearing the striped
Hmm.
coveralls, but they got like the button-up shirt, the Oxford underneath. Some
Right.
of them are wearing ties. Like just a good look.
Yeah. It
Just a good look.
yeah. It's just, yeah. I mean, call it like you see it,
I wear work clothes all the time, like
Yeah.
and like again, aside from cutting down trees in my yard and some occasional
Right.
yard work and some occasional work on my own vehicles,
Hmm.
I'm no longer that guy. I don't work in a garage anymore. I don't
Hmm.
work as a house painter anymore.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
so it's I feel like it'd be like stolen valor to be walking around in crisp coveralls.
I know. Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, yeah, like the shame of going to buy fresh coveralls or overalls. You have to go in with a backstory,
You
like
do.
for the cashier.
Be like,
Like,
no, the work gives me this stipend to buy these. That's why I'm
right.
buying fresh ones because
Yeah.
they the work I do, social work,
Yeah.
teaching music, they
Yeah.
only last you a few months at
Right.
best. So,
Yeah. They don't make
but
them
the
like
other thing
they don't
is,
make them like they
what would
used
I
to.
think I
Yeah.
could do that though,
Yeah.
but I don't have the self confidence is to step outside of my house wearing overalls.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is I don't like I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but I'm just saying I'm like entered like I'm
I
learning to
think you could,
question things, you
I think you
know.
could pull it off better than I could, but there's
Yeah.
still a firm line on corduroy.
Yeah, it's
Corduroy trousers specifically. Like, I
no.
guess like corduroy jacket, maybe.
A Corey jacket, yeah, no, I have a Corey jacket I love. That's great. But
You do.
that's like an accent piece. It's not like, you know,
Corduroy
yeah.
trousers are unacceptable as an
I
adult
just
man.
like can you imagine having that much leisure time? Like it just I don't know. But
You know who can really get you fired up against corduroy? She says corduroy is a cloth just has good PR, but it's a scumbag cloth. Is our friend Heidi.
oh really? I'll have to
And when we talk tarot,
I'm
I
gonna
think
have
of
to
Heidi.
yeah.
You
Right,
know,
right. I mean, we're just talking
oh
recently, so
Heidi will like as
yeah.
the godparent to her children.
Hmm.
I told Heidi one time, I'm like, I saw a pair of corduroy trousers that they were Nantucket red. I'm like, there was a little part of me that's like, that's so outlandish. And she's like, I swear, if you do that, you're out of the family.
We're out, yeah,
I'm
you were
like,
done.
that's why I need you. I need you to tell me these things so I don't stray from the righteous path.
Right. We all have standards, you know.
That's right. And we all
Well
need
if
help sometimes maintaining those because temptations are out there. The
it
devil
is,
works. The devil's real. And sometimes you can find him
right?
at the Brooks Brothers outlet store in a pair of Nantucket red corduroy trousers.
Amen. Amen, brother. Well, if you have a
Strong opinion on any
strong
cloth.
on any cloth, or if you know what, if you have some sort of garment that you've been really tempted by recently and need someone to talk about, you can reach out and let us know. We're here for you. But if you have a weird story like any of the ones that we relayed tonight from Stan Gordon, you can find us on YouTube or Instagram at the Ghost Furnace Podcast, or you can send us an email at the Ghost Furnace Podcast at gmail.com.
Good night, everybody.